You wake up in the morning. The clock reads the usual 6:30 or 7 a.m. Your body has known this rhythm for decades. You go to the kitchen, make some coffee. You hear the shower running. That's her, your wife. Everything seems normal. The house is standing, the car is in the garage, the kids might be grown or finishing their breakfast before school. You look at this picture and think, I've made it. I've built a fortress. Everything is fine. But it's in this very moment, when you feel most secure, that you make a fatal mistake. You don't smell it. The faint, barely perceptible smell of rot that is already soaked into the foundation of your fortress. You think infidelity is an explosion, an event that happens suddenly, like a thunderclap from a clear sky. But that's a lie. Infidelity isn't an event, it's a process. It's a slow-growing cancer that you've been ignoring for years, mistaking its symptoms for ordinary fatigue or the daily grind of family life. And today, we're going to lance this boil. We won't be using any anesthesia. It will be painful. It will be unpleasant. But it's the only way to save what can still be saved, or at least to understand why your perfectly built world collapsed overnight. You're used to thinking in patterns. Your male brain looks for logic where there is none. You tell yourself, she left because he's richer, or she found someone younger with a more durable body and a bigger package. Or the most common one, she just went bad. She became like all the rest, fell for some smooth talker. You soothe yourself with these thoughts. It's convenient to believe the problem is about resources, money, inches, youth. Because if it's about resources, it's not your fault. It's just the luck of the draw. But I have to disappoint you. Everything you think about this is a pure, unadulterated fallacy. A woman doesn't cheat for money. A woman doesn't cheat for anatomy. She cheats for reasons that lie in such a deep, dark part of the subconscious, you're afraid to even peek in there with a flashlight. And today, we're going down into that darkness. We will dissect 3 fundamental reasons. But I must warn you, there's something else, a fourth factor, a shadow factor. Let's call it the phantom. It's what even old man Freud kept quiet about, afraid of scaring the public of his time. It's what's guaranteed to destroy any bed, even one filled with acrobatic passion. I will reveal this secret, this phantom, only at the very end, because if I told you now, you simply wouldn't believe it. You need to be prepared for this truth. But before we begin to dissect a woman's soul, I want to speak to the men who value bluntness. If you're ready to hear a truth that will make your jaw clench, but will also make you stronger, support this conversation. Like this video right now. That's a signal to me that we're speaking the same language. And for those gentlemen who understand the value of this information and want to contribute to the channel's growth, the join or super thanks button is always available below this video. Your support allows us to ignore censorship and call a spade a spade. Thank you to those who are already with us. And now, let's get to it. The architecture of emptiness, emotional starvation. Let's start with the first reason. It's the most expansive, the most insidious, and the most common. Psychologists call it emotional deficit, but I'll call it something simpler and more terrifying, emotional starvation. And this starvation has 2 faces. One looks at the woman in the mirror, and the other looks at you as you sit across from her at dinner, silent, buried in your phone. Let's be clear about what this starvation is. It's not a whim. It's not a desire for a new designer bag or a trip to an exotic resort. It's much deeper, on a biological and neurochemical level. Imagine a hole, a black hole inside her chest. This hole wasn't formed yesterday. Most likely, she brought it with her from childhood. Those women who have never set foot in a therapist's office, and let's be honest, that's the vast majority of your partners and of women in general, carry within them a colossal burden of feeling unloved.
Here, we have to touch on the classics for a second, but without the boring lectures. Imagine a little girl. She grows up in a family where perhaps she wasn't wanted, or they wanted a boy, or her parents were too busy with survival, with work, with their own arguments. She never received that basic foundation of praise, physical affection, and admiration necessary to form a complete personality. She grew up with the feeling, I exist, but I am not seen. And now this little girl grows into the stunning woman you met, fell in love with, and brought into your home. You think you married a grown woman, but in reality, you signed a contract with her inner insatiable child, and that child is demanding payment on invoices you never issued. She tries to fill those old dust-covered holes at your expense. She doesn't even realize it herself. She thinks she just wants love, but in practice, it looks like an endless, exhausting stream of demands. She acts out. She has fits. She demands proof of your feelings like a detective demands evidence. Love me more. Love me exactly the way I imagined in my head. That's what every move, every breath of hers is broadcasting. She turns into a black hole, sucking away your energy. And what do? You, like a normal man with a job, responsibilities, and a simple desire to relax in the evening, are faced with this onslaught, and you do the only thing your self-preservation instinct tells you to do. You shut down. You become that very rock, that fortress where, as fairy tales promised her, she was supposed to be happy. But to her, this wall isn't protection, it's the wall of a prison cell. You go cold, you retreat into your gadgets, the garage, your work, into silence. You think she'll get over it. You think it's just PMS. But while you're building your barricades, her starvation doesn't go away. It transforms. And this is where good old Freud and his theory of libido enter the game. Libido is not just the desire for sex, it's life force, it's electricity. If you cut the wires in your house, the electricity doesn't disappear. It finds another way out and shorts the system. A woman who is banging on your stone-cold back feels dead. Hear that word, dead. A woman's sexuality is inseparable from emotion. If there is no emotional connection, her body begins to wither. But nature takes its course, and one day, when her inner loneliness reaches a critical point, the inevitable happens. He appears. He's not necessarily a handsome model from a magazine cover. He's not necessarily a millionaire in a sports car. Often the lover loses to you on all fronts. He's poorer, maybe dumber. He might even be less attractive physically. But he has one weapon against which you have no defense. He's warm, he's alive, and he looks at her. Not through her, as you've gotten used to doing over breakfast while checking stock prices or the news feed. He looks directly into her eyes, and he holds his gaze for a fraction of a second longer than socially acceptable. Remember how it happens: a chance meeting, a coworker, or just a stranger. He says a simple hello to her, but in that hello there's no fatigue, no domestic drudgery, no complaints about unwashed dishes. There's interest, and in that moment a biochemical explosion occurs in her brain. Dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, the entire cocktail she's been deprived of for years floods her system. She suddenly feels the blood rush to her cheeks. She feels the rhythm of her breathing change. She feels that treacherous warmth spreading low in her belly, something she hasn't felt with you in a long time. She feels like a living woman, a female targeted by the hunter's gaze, and that feeling is the most powerful drug in the world.
She didn't plan to cheat. Believe me, most women don't wake up with a plan. Today I will betray my husband. No. She resists. She tells herself, I'm a decent wife. But emotional starvation is stronger than morality. She starts to fantasize, lying next to you in the same bed, feeling your familiar, dear but cold body. She closes her eyes and doesn't see darkness. She sees that scene where she is wanted, where her body is eagerly explored, where her every moan is caught as if it were a revelation. Her skin becomes sensitive, her nipples harden, moisture appears on its own, but not for you. It's a reaction to the phantom of the one who gave her a drop of attention.
And when that man offers her something more than just a look, she will go. Not for sex, but for confirmation that she exists. Before we move on to the second reason, which will hit your ego even harder, I want to ask you one simple question. We're talking about things that affect different generations. In the comments, just write one number, your age. Let's see which generation today is ready to accept this truth, and who would rather close their eyes and live in illusion. Just a number. It's important for me to understand who's on the other side of the screen. Done? Let's move on. The erosion of respect, the death of a hero in her eyes. The second reason is a silent killer. If emotional starvation is a cry for help, then the loss of respect is a final verdict with no chance of appeal. Respect in a relationship is currency. At the beginning of your romance, when you first got together, she gave you a massive line of credit, an advance, simply because you were a male who chose her. She looked up to you, even if she was taller. She saw your potential, your strength, your support. But what happens over the years? Respect is not a constant, it's sand in an hourglass, and you, without even noticing, are shattering the glass with your own hands, and the sand pours out in an instant. What actions make a woman stop desiring you as a man? Memorize this simple axiom. A woman does not sleep with a man she does not respect. A woman cannot feel true animalistic arousal for someone she considers small or pathetic. Fear and pity are the two most effective contraceptives in nature. The first nail in the coffin of your marriage is aggression. I'm not just talking about physical violence. That's beyond discussion. That's the end, period. I'm talking about psychological abuse, when you humiliate her with words, when you explain to her that she's nobody, that she's stupid, that she'd be lost without you. You think you're asserting your power. I'm the man, I'm the boss, know your place. You're stroking your ego. But in that moment, an irreversible transformation happens in her mind. You cease to be her protector. You become a threat, and you don't mate with a threat. You either run from a threat, or, and this is the most interesting part, you find someone who will protect you from it, another male, a stronger one, or simply a calmer one. But there's something worse than aggression. Aggression can still be mistaken for passion in the early stages, within the framework of a toxic codependency. Worse than aggression is pettiness, stinginess. This is what dries up a woman's libido faster than menopause. Picture a scene in a restaurant. You've finished your meal, the check arrives, and you, a grown man, meticulously, with a calculator in your eyes, start figuring out who ate what. You ordered the shrimp salad, and I just had coffee, so let's split it accordingly. In that moment, you think you're being fair, rational, but she doesn't see a man in front of her. She sees a scared little boy trembling over his piggy bank.
A man's generosity isn't about money. It's about the expansiveness of his spirit. It's the ability to give without demanding guarantees. It's an energy surplus. Pettiness is a deficit. When a woman sees you pinching every penny, holding a piece of bread over her head, controlling her spending to an absurd degree, her body shuts down and locks up. She cannot let a man inside her who tries to save money on her pleasure. It's unnatural. On a biological level, a female chooses a male who can provide resources for her offspring. If you demonstrate the behavior of a scarce, greedy creature, your chances are zero. And when someone appears on the horizon who simply, without fanfare, says, "I'll handle it, don't worry," and silently takes out his card, she will melt. Not because of the money, but because of the sense of scale in his personality, which you lacked. And the third aspect of losing respect is your attitude towards her past, especially her children. If you married a woman with a child, you knew what you were getting into. But if, in a fit of anger or just out of poor character, you allow yourself to say that her children are baggage, that they're bad, that they're in your way, oh, my friend, you have no idea what button you just pushed. You pushed the eject button.
The maternal instinct is the most ancient and powerful. It's stronger than the instinct to reproduce, stronger than her love for a man. The moment you become an enemy to her offspring, you are a dead man on her mental map of the world. Sex with you becomes a betrayal of her children, and that is a taboo. Once respect is lost, the point of no return has been crossed. She might continue to live with you, cook you dinner, wash your socks, but as a woman, she is dead to you. And this is where space for maneuver opens up, for that backup plan, because nature abhors a vacuum. If there's no master in the house, and a man who is not respected cannot be the master, then the position is vacant, and believe me, that vacancy won't stay open for long. Now we approach the third reason, and it's possibly the most painful for the male ego, because it concerns your certainty in your own rightness. We're going to talk about deafness, about how you, having ears, hear nothing but the sound of your own voice, and how another man uses your mistakes to open her up like a skilled locksmith picking a cheap lock. Deafness that's louder than a scream. The third reason is the inability to engage in dialogue. It's that total, impenetrable male certainty that she's being irrational and I'm the one who's right. You live in a paradigm of your own correctness. You've built a logical framework in which you are flawless. You work, you don't drink or drink in moderation. You bring home the bacon. What more could she want? But let's face the truth. A woman is a verbal and emotional creature. She has a vital need to talk through her states of being. She needs to be heard. Think about your arguments. What do they look like? She comes to you with a problem. Yes, she doesn't do it the way you would at a board meeting. She doesn't bring charts and reports. She brings a ball of emotions. She yells, she cries, she speaks incoherently. I'm tired. You don't help me. I feel like a servant. We never go anywhere. What do you hear? You hear white noise. You hear the sound of a circular saw cutting through your brain. And your reaction is defense. Here we go again. Stop nagging me. Calm down. You're being hysterical.
You brush off her words like an annoying fly. You devalue her feelings. You have no reason to be unhappy. Look at how other people live. You shut her up with your logic. But logic is powerless here. When a woman tells you about her pain and you respond with facts, you are speaking different languages. You're not solving the problem. You're pushing it deeper inside her. Every such argument that ends with your "I'm right, now shut up" is another brick in the wall of alienation. And sooner or later, that wall becomes soundproof. And this is where he enters the stage, the other guy. And you know what his superpower is? It's not his skills in bed. It's not his money. His superpower is that he listens. He becomes that emotional toilet into which she flushes everything that has accumulated over years of living with you. She tells him how callous you are, how deaf you are, and he doesn't argue. He doesn't tell her it's your own fault. He nods. He says, "You poor thing, that must be so hard for you." And these aren't just words. They are the key that turns in the rusty lock of her soul. He gives her what you deprived her of years ago, the right to her emotions, the right to be weak, the right to be unhappy. He validates her feelings, and in that moment, a magic happens that you men often underestimate. For a woman, emotional intimacy is the most powerful aphrodisiac. When she feels heard, her body begins to open up to him. This isn't a figure of speech, it's physiology. The tension releases, the fear disappears, trust emerges. And so they sit, maybe in a cafe, maybe in a car. He just listens and perhaps lightly touches her hand, not sexually, but supportively. But for her, that touch is like an electric shock, because your hand has long since become either as familiar as furniture or as demanding as a tax inspector. But this touch, it demands nothing and gives so much.
She looks at him and sees not just a man, she sees a mirror in which she's reflected not as a nagging housewife or a constantly dissatisfied wife, but as an interesting, deep, suffering yet beautiful woman. And it is with this image, with this version of herself, that she will want to sleep. Sex with him will simply be the physical confirmation of this emotional merger. You can be right 1,000 times over. You can logically prove that her complaints are baseless. You can win the argument, but you will lose the woman. Because in a relationship, it's not about who's right, but who's happy. And while you're polishing your "I'm always right" medal, another man is polishing your wife's body simply because he took the time to listen to her nonsense. Think about that the next time you want to shut her up with your arguments. We create this content for those men who have outgrown cheap entertainment and are ready to stare into the abyss of reality. If my words are hitting their mark, if you feel the value of this harsh breakdown, become a member of the channel. This isn't just support, it's a sign that we are of the same tribe, with the same values. The button is below. And now, we move on to the most important part, the reason we are all here, to the phantom. The phantom, the effect of the shadow mirror. We've discussed 3 reasons: starvation, disrespect, deafness. It would seem that's enough to destroy any marriage, but there are cases that leave men completely baffled. Imagine this situation. You are the perfect husband. Seriously, you're not a cheapskate, you're generous, you listen to her, you give her flowers, you're good in bed, you're involved with the kids. You are a dream, the gold standard. And then, bam, you find out she's sleeping with someone else. And this someone else is your complete opposite. He might be rude, he might be poor, he might be a degenerate. And you stand in the ruins of your perfect family, screaming at the sky. Why? What was she missing?
The answer lies in a territory that even Freud was afraid to enter, but where Carl Gustav Jung was perfectly at home. The 4th reason, the phantom, is the encounter with her own shadow. A woman isn't cheating on you, she's cheating on herself, on that proper, good, decent version of herself that she became by your side. Remember what she was like when you first met? Maybe she had a wild streak, a fire. But marriage is a social institution. It comes with obligations, with roles: mother, homemaker, faithful wife. For years, she wears these masks. She suppresses her dark, animalistic side because mothers don't behave like that. Wives don't do that. But the shadow doesn't disappear. It accumulates in the basements of the psyche. It craves dirt. It craves risk. It wants to be a bad girl who gets punished. It wants to be taken not like a precious vase that you're afraid to break, but like a cheap thrill in a roadside motel. She needs those base, animalistic vibrations that are simply impossible in your sterile, proper, respectful marriage. To her, you are the light. You are safety. You are a sanctuary. And you don't have sex in a sanctuary. You pray in it. And then the phantom appears, the trigger man. He might be a scumbag. He might be what you'd call a loser or trash, but he projects something that is forbidden in your home. He doesn't look at her as the mother of his children. He looks at her like a piece of meat. And that gaze awakens in her, that ancient female, the Lilith she strangled in order to be your Eve. Sex with him is not about love. It's a rebellion. It's a chance to shed the skin of the decent woman and become an animal for an hour. She moans under him like she never moaned under you, not because he's technically better, but because with him she's not ashamed to be depraved. With you, she is ashamed. Your family. You're a father figure. But with him, anything is possible. This is a terrifying truth, because it's almost impossible to fight this if you remain in the role of the good husband. The phantom is her longing for a lost part of herself. She's not looking for his personality in a lover. She's looking for the reflection of herself that you stopped seeing, or that you yourself forbade her from showing. You're a mother. Act decently. And she does, at home.
but she acts indecently in the back seat of someone else's car. So, what's the solution? Give up? Wait for the storm to hit? No. Understanding these mechanisms gives you a weapon. If you understand that infidelity isn't always about "I'm a bad husband," but often about she's missing something inside herself, you can change the script. You can be different. You can take off the mask of the saintly family man and sometimes turn on that bad boy. You can give her emotion. You can give her roughness. You can give her the spectrum of sensations she's seeking elsewhere. But for that, you need the courage to see in your wife not just a mommy, but a woman with dark, deep, and sometimes frightening desires. Let's sum it up. Women cheat not because they are flawed, and not because you are poor. They cheat out of emotional coldness, trying to find warmth. They cheat out of a loss of respect when they see not a man beside them, but a frightened boy. They cheat out of deafness when their screams shatter against your wall of correctness. And they cheat to meet their own shadow, which you perhaps drove into the underground yourself. This is a complex map of a minefield, but now you have it.
If you've watched up to this point, you are already different from the 90% of men who turned off the video at the words, "a man should." You have the backbone to accept the truth. Hit the subscribe button so you don't lose this source of sobriety in a world of pink illusions. And remember, until you recognize your mistakes, you are doomed to repeat them, with new women, in new marriages, with new scenery. But the ending will always be the same. Break the cycle. Start with yourself, right now. The trap of false calm, when silence becomes an alarm. You think infidelity looks like a scandal. You expect her to start avoiding your gaze, acting nervous, or staying late at work with flimsy excuses. Those are stereotypes from cheap TV shows. In real life, especially with an experienced, intelligent woman, infidelity looks completely different. It looks like paradise has descended upon your home, and this is the most terrifying trap for a man's perception. Remember the third reason we talked about, the nagging and her attempts to get through to you. Well, the main symptom that she has someone else is silence. Sudden, blessed silence. She stopped demanding that you go for walks in the park with her. She stopped yelling about the socks on the floor. She no longer asks you to fix the faucet for the 100th time. You breathe a sigh of relief and think, finally, she came to her senses. She realized how great I am and backed off. You enjoy this peace. You lie on the couch, watch the game, and no one is buzzing in your ear. But you are mistaken. This isn't peace, it's detachment. She stopped demanding your attention not because she gave up, but because she started getting that attention elsewhere. She no longer needs to squeeze emotions out of you. Her emotional reservoir is filled to the brim, but it's not filled by you. This perfect wife who has suddenly become affectionate, compliant, and mysteriously smiley is a woman consumed by guilt. And it's this guilt that makes her cook you 3-course meals and iron your shirts with double the diligence. She is paying you off with domestic comfort for giving her soul and body to another man. Men often miss this moment. We think in a straightforward way, if she's not yelling, everything's fine. But in relationship psychology, there's an ironclad rule. As long as a woman is screaming, as long as she's breaking dishes, as long as she's crying, she's still in the relationship with you. She's fighting. She still cares. The moment indifference and polite coldness set in, disguised as being a good wife, pack your bags. Emotionally, she's already moved out. All that's left is a shell, dutifully performing the functions of a housewife while her thoughts are in someone else's bed. Pay attention to her phone. And no, I'm not talking about her setting a password. That's basic. Watch how she interacts with it. She picks it up, reads a message, and a micro smile appears on her face, a barely noticeable, fleeting smile you haven't seen in 10 years. This is not a smile at a funny meme. This is a reaction to the words, "I want you right now," or "You were amazing last night." She immediately turns off the screen, returns to reality, looks at you with an empty gaze, and asks, "Want some tea?" This contrast between the living emotion for the screen and the dead politeness for you is the surest sign of a catastrophe. The ghost in your bed.
the anatomy of physical substitution.
Let's talk about what's usually left unsaid, about sex during an affair. Many men think that if a wife gets a lover, access to her body is closed off to the husband. She has a headache, she's tired, and so on. Yes, that happens, but much more often the opposite occurs, and this phenomenon confuses even the most perceptive husbands. Suddenly, out of nowhere, your sex life experiences a renaissance. She becomes active, she initiates, she suggests positions she wouldn't even hear of before. She puts on lingerie you thought she was saving for a special occasion, even though there's no celebration. You think, wow, a second wind, I'm still the alpha male. You gladly accept this game. You enjoy her body, which has suddenly become more uninhibited, more responsive, more wet. But I have to pour a bucket of ice water on your enthusiasm. What's happening in that moment is not passion for you. It's an echo of what another man did with her. A woman's body has a memory. If the night before she was taken roughly in the back seat of a car or gently caressed in a hotel, her hormonal levels are at their peak. She is aroused by him, but he's gone, and you are here, available, and she uses you as a workout machine to burn off that fuel. She closes her eyes, and when you enter her, she's not picturing you. She's replaying scenes with him in her head. She moans from memories, not from your thrusts. A particularly alarming sign is the appearance of new skills. If your wife, who has been a conservative in bed for 20 years, suddenly starts giving head with the technique of a porn star or asks you to spank her, ask yourself a question. Where did this software update come from? Who was her teacher? A woman's sexuality rarely changes in leaps and bounds without an external stimulus. More often than not, she is simply bringing into the marital bedroom what he liked and is now trying to get approval through you. It's a substitute. It's leftovers from someone else's feast served to you as a gourmet delicacy. This is painful to hear, I know, but it's better you hear it from me now than wonder why your modest wife suddenly, for no apparent reason, bought a maid's costume and handcuffs. There is a reason, and that reason has a name, a last name, and most likely a phone number in her contacts saved under a woman's name like Nails or Accountant. And here we come to a fundamental difference, to why it's almost impossible for a man to get over an affair, while women often forgive and move on. We are entering the territory of biology and ancient instincts that don't give a damn about modern tolerance and psychology. The biology of disgust, why you won't be able to forget. When a woman finds out about her husband's affair, her first question is, do you love her? For a woman, infidelity is primarily a threat to the emotional bond and a loss of resources. She's afraid you'll leave, that you'll spend money on another family. If you convince her that it was just sex, I was drunk, you're the best, she'll cry, she'll throw a fit, but she can live with it. She can get into bed with you because her biology allows her to separate your body from your actions.
For a man, it's completely different. Your first question is not, do you love him? Your first question, which flashes in your brain like a red neon sign, is, did you sleep with him? And it's followed by a second, even more humiliating question, was it good? For a man, a woman's infidelity is not just a betrayal of trust, it's a biological desecration of his territory. On a reptilian brain level, a man perceives a woman as his property. It sounds harsh, outdated, and feminists would burn me at the stake for saying it, but we're here to speak the truth, not politically correct nonsense. Your genetic programming screams, foreign genetic material has entered my vessel. A mechanism of disgust kicks in. This isn't a moral category, it's a physiological reflex, like gagging. Imagine your favorite toothbrush. You use it every day, and suddenly you find out that your neighbor, whom you might despise, used it to clean his toilet and then put it back in the cup. Question: would you be able to put that toothbrush back in your mouth, even if you boiled it, even if you doused it in alcohol, even if you really, really love that toothbrush? Almost certainly not. The very thought would make you sick. This is how a man perceives a woman after a physical affair, the dirty glass effect. You might understand with your logical mind that you need to save the family. You might think about the children. You might even still love her. But when it comes to the bedroom, when you see her naked, it won't be her beauty that appears before your eyes. It will be the ghost of that other man. You'll think, did he touch her here? Did he kiss her like this? And your erection, your main indicator of desire, will treacherously fail. Because your dick doesn't know how to lie. It doesn't get hard for something the subconscious has marked as contaminated. This is precisely why a man's affair is often technical and doesn't destroy the marriage to its foundations, whereas a woman's affair is almost always the end. A woman who has let another man inside her changes on a molecular level. She changes her scent, she changes her energy, and you as a male can sense it even if you have no direct proof. You sense that what was yours has become communal, and a man does not know how to share. We're not in a kindergarten, we're in the jungle.
You start seeing them everywhere. You're driving in your car and you imagine them sitting in a car just like it. You come home, look at the couch and think, maybe right here while I was at work? Every object in the house becomes evidence. Every glance from her seems deceptive. You turn into a paranoid wreck. And this state is more exhausting than working in a coal mine. You lose sleep, you lose your appetite, your productivity at work plummets because half of your brain's processing power is occupied with rendering pornographic images starring your wife and some other guy. And here a paradox arises. The woman, seeing your suffering, if everything has come to light, may genuinely not understand the scale of the tragedy. She says, "But I chose you. I stayed with you. It was a mistake. Just forget it." She thinks her choice to stay is a gift, but for you, her presence becomes a daily reminder of your humiliation, of the fact that you weren't good enough to hold her attention, that someone else was using your property without any responsibility, while you were paying the bills and building the house. It is at this moment that many men break. Some turn to alcohol. Some find a young lover just to prove to themselves, "I've still got it. Women still want me." Some become tyrants and start taking revenge on their wives, turning their lives into a concentration camp. But all of this is just an attempt to drown out the pain caused by the loss of the one and only status. Infidelity is not about sex, it's about hierarchy. You were shown that your place on the throne is not exclusive, that the throne can be rented out while the king is away hunting. So, is there a way out of this labyrinth? Can you glue a broken vase back together? The Japanese art of kintsugi teaches that broken pottery can be repaired with gold, becoming even more valuable. A beautiful metaphor. But we're not talking about ceramics. We're talking about the human soul. And the truth is, things will never be the way they were. They will be different, maybe worse, maybe not at all. Or maybe, and this is an extremely rare case, available to only a few, it will be the beginning of a completely new relationship built on the ruins of the old one. But to get there, you have to go through hell. And whether you're ready for that journey is a decision only you can make. An injection of reality. Who is really to blame? Let's pause this stream of pain for a second and look at the situation coldly, like pathologists. We've dissected the causes, we've dissected the consequences, but the main question that haunts everyone remains: whose fault is it? And here, my friends, I'm going to hurt you again, but it's a healing pain. You desperately want to call her a slut. You want to blame it all on her promiscuity, her friends' influence, Instagram, the phases of the moon. It's convenient. It absolves you of responsibility. I was good, she turned out to be bad. But let's go back to the beginning, to those 3 reasons: starvation, disrespect, deafness. Who created that vacuum? Who stopped looking at her as a woman and started seeing her as a function?
who brushed off her requests, who forgot that a relationship is not a statue you set up and forget, but a fire you constantly need to feed. Infidelity is always a dance for two. Yes, she is the one who makes the decision to get into someone else's bed, and that's her responsibility, her sin, if you will. But the groundwork for that decision was laid by both of you. You paved the road she drove down to get to another man. Your indifference, your laziness, your arrogance, those were the road signs pointing her left.
I am not justifying infidelity. Cheating is the weak way out. The strong way out is to say honestly, I'm unhappy, let's either fix this or go our separate ways. But people are weak, both men and women. We look for easy paths, and often a lover is just a painkiller. A woman takes that pill not to destroy her family, but to keep from going insane within it, to feel alive, to get what you owed her. Understand me correctly, I am not calling on you to cover yourself in ashes and crawl to her on your knees. No, you must never lose your self-respect. But if you want to understand why this happened, you have to walk up to the mirror and ask yourself a hard question. Was I the kind of man a woman wouldn't want to cheat on? Was I the one who met her needs, or was I just a convenient roommate who pays the mortgage? If you find that you really were just a roommate, then you have a chance not to get her back, sometimes that's impossible, but a chance not to repeat this scenario in the future with another woman. Because if you don't learn this lesson, the next wife will do the same thing, not because all women are bitches, but because you are making the same systemic mistakes. You are not working with the phantom, you are ignoring the shadow. And now, having peeled back the layers of emotion, we get to the practical part. What should a man do who has faced this or feels he's on the brink? How can you use the knowledge of the phantom and the shadow to turn the tables? How do you become that trigger man for whom women leave others instead of the one who gets left? The answer is both simple and complex at the same time. You need to become dangerous. Being dangerous, the only path to rebirth. I told you, you need to become dangerous. I can see your faces tense up. You, men in your 40s, 50s, 60s, are used to something else. You were taught to be reliable. You were taught to be predictable. A good husband doesn't drink, doesn't hit, and brings his paycheck home. And you followed this instruction for decades. You castrated your aggression. You suppressed your natural wildness to fit into the decor of domestic comfort. You became teddy bears, soft, convenient, safe. But teddy bears have one problem. Women don't desire them. They cuddle with them when it's cold, but they don't fantasize about them when it gets hot. Female nature is paradoxical. On a logical level, the neocortex, she seeks security. She wants a house, insurance, and guarantees. But on a reptilian brain level, the one responsible for the wetness between her legs and dilated pupils, she craves a threat. She needs a man who can be dangerous, who has the capacity to destroy, who possesses the potential for aggression, but keeps it under control. This is the beast on a leash concept. If you are just a rabbit, you are prey. If you are a wolf who has chosen to lie at her feet, you are a king.
What does it mean to be dangerous in daily life? It doesn't mean yelling or breaking dishes. That's hysteria. That's weakness. Being dangerous means being sovereign. It means your no carries the weight of a ton. It means you stop seeking her approval. Remember how many times you've asked her, "Honey, is it okay if I go out with my friends? Can we buy this? Do you like it?" You are asking for permission to live. You've handed her the remote control to your reality. And a woman cannot desire someone she controls. She cannot desire a subordinate. That's incest, sleeping with a child who asks for permission. Take back your right to make decisions. Stop asking, "Where do you want to go for dinner?" Say, "Get dressed, we're leaving in an hour. I've booked the table." Feel the difference.
In the first case, you shift the responsibility to her, forcing her to be a mommy. In the second, you take charge, you decide, you lead. And even if she doesn't like the restaurant, her body will react to your dominant position. She will feel a man is at the helm, and this relaxes her hyper-control, and a relaxed woman is an aroused woman. Danger is unpredictability. You've become too easy to figure out. She knows your route, your jokes, your reactions. She knows that on Friday there will be sex, and on Saturday a trip to her mother's. Boredom is a libido killer. Become a glitch in the system. Do something she doesn't expect. Disappear for an evening without explanation, within reason, and then come back with flowers and a wild desire. Make her worry. Make her think, where is he? Who is he with? A little anxiety is the spice that keeps the dish of marriage from becoming bland. You must show her that you are not chained to her, that you choose to be with her every day, but that choice is not guaranteed forever. The fear of loss is the best stimulant of value. We create this content for the elite, for those who are ready to break their stereotypes for the sake of results. If you feel that this conversation is changing your mindset, support the channel by becoming a member. This button is for those who understand there's no such thing as a free lunch, and high-quality male psychology requires investment. Thank you to those who are already with us. Let's continue into the bedroom. Renaissance in the bedroom, reclaiming the right to power. Now for the most important part. How do you bring the phantom back into your marital bed? How do you become the lover she doesn't need to go elsewhere for? You will have to kill the good boy inside you who is afraid of hurting the girl. You'll have to release your shadow. Most men in a marriage make love as if they are filling out a tax form, carefully, line by line, so as not to make a mistake. Are you comfortable? Am I pressing too hard? Does that feel good? You apologize for your own desire. You beg for sex like a beggar asking for charity. Come on, please, just for a little bit. It's pathetic. It's anti-sexual. A woman wants to be taken, not raped, God forbid, feel the difference, but taken, greedily, confidently, without asking. Try changing the script just once. Don't ask. Approach her when she's washing dishes or talking on the phone. Come up from behind, silently. Take her by the hair, not painfully, but masterfully, to hold her head still. Press your whole body against her. Let her feel your hardness through her clothes, and whisper in her ear, not "let's have sex," but a statement. Describe what you want to do to her, dirty, in detail. Use words you considered forbidden. I want to fuck you right here. Not make love, but that exact raw word.
You will see her body freeze for a second. It's shock. It's a break in the pattern. Her brain will scream, "What's happening? My husband has lost his mind." But a second later, her body will respond. Because in that moment, she will see in you not the familiar, safe John or Mike. She will see a stranger. She will see a male asserting his rights over his female. This is the very phantom she was looking for on the side, the one who is not afraid of her body, the one who is not afraid of his own lust. Women secretly dream of being an object. In the modern world where they are bosses, businesswomen, mothers who decide everything, they are dead tired of responsibility. In bed, they want to shed that burden. They want someone strong to come, turn off their brain, and use their body for pleasure. Your pleasure. The paradox is that when you selfishly take your pleasure, you give her the ultimate enjoyment, freedom from control. Allow yourself to be selfish. Allow yourself to be an animal. Look at her not with adoration, but with hunger, like a piece of meat you are about to devour. It's a look that will make her knees go weak. And turn off the light, or leave it on. Do it differently from how you're used to. If it was always in the dark, turn on a spotlight. Make her watch what you're doing. If it was under the covers, rip them off. Shame is fuel. When she feels a little ashamed, when she feels like a dirty girl in the hands of her own husband, that is the pinnacle. You are legalizing her depravity. You're telling her without words, I know you want filth, and I can give it to you. You don't need anyone else. You have me. I am your husband, and I am your darkest, most depraved lover. Is this a risk? Yes. She might say, are you crazy? She might get scared. But if you do it with confidence, without apologizing, without backing down at the first hesitation, but by pushing your reality with your male gravity, she will accept it, because nature is stronger than nurture. And when you see her eyes after sex like that, cloudy, unfocused, drunk, you will know that you have won. You have killed the lover. You have taken his place. The shadow contract, what therapists don't talk about. But the transformation in the bedroom is just the tip of the iceberg. We must anchor this result on a psychological level. We must renegotiate the marriage contract, not the legal one, but the psychological one, the one you sign every day with your behavior. Your old contract read something like this: I will be good, convenient, and obedient, and in return, you will love me and not cheat on me. This contract turned out to be a fraud. It doesn't work, because it violates the balance. Good guys aren't loved. Good guys are used. Women love men they are afraid to lose. They love men who evoke emotion. And emotion is always a spectrum, from I could kill that bastard to, oh God, take me right now. The new contract must read like this: I am a man. I have my own goals, my own interests, and my own life outside of this house. I choose to be with you because I like you, not because I'd be lost without you. I will take care of you, I will protect you, but I will never be your servant. I demand respect, and if I don't get it, I will leave. I will not tolerate it, I will not wait. I will simply disappear from your life, and you know it.
This is called the readiness to walk away. It is a man's most powerful weapon. A woman feels this readiness in her bones. If she knows you're not going anywhere, that you are dependent on her cooking, on her approval, she loses respect for you. But if she sees that you are self-sufficient, that your shirt is ironed, that you are in shape, that other women find you attractive and she notices this, and that at any sign of disrespect you are capable of getting up and walking out the door without looking back, she will hold on to you with a death grip. She will fight to win you over every single day, because only that which can be lost has value. Look at yourself in the mirror. Who do you see there? A tired man with a dead look in his eyes and a belly hanging over his belt? Or a man who still has some fire left in him? Work on yourself, not for her, for yourself. The gym, testosterone, your wardrobe, reclaim your predatory sense. A predator is not fat and lazy. A predator is always toned. As soon as you begin to change on the outside, as soon as a glint of steel and coldness appears in your eyes, she will read it. She will understand something is happening. He's changing. He's becoming a stranger, and this fear will make her chase you. The ownership instinct will kick in instantly. That's mine. I won't give it up. And here we come full circle. Remember we talked about the 3 reasons: starvation, disrespect, deafness. When you become dangerous, you automatically fill these holes. A dangerous man evokes emotions, fills the starvation. A dangerous man is impossible not to respect, fills the loss of respect. And a dangerous man is listened to because he speaks rarely but with impact, fills the deafness. You become whole. You cease to be a half. You become a unit. This is a difficult path. It's easier to open a beer, lie on the couch, and say, all women are bitches. It's easier to blame her. It's easier to find another one and repeat the whole cycle. But the warrior's path is the path of working on oneself. Your wife's infidelity is a cruel lesson, but it's the best kick in the ass life could have given you. Say thank you to her, in your mind, for showing you your weakness, and start turning that weakness into strength. we are approaching the end, the final reveal where I promise to unveil the main secret, the secret of the phantom. I've already hinted at it, but now I will formulate it in a way that will forever change your attitude towards women. Are you ready? The final key, the mirror of Lilith. The phantom is not the third wheel. The phantom is the missing piece of the puzzle. Within each of us, both men and women, live two principles, light and dark, Apollo and Dionysus, Eve and Lilith. Marriage, society, morality force us to amputate the dark part. We become refined. We fear our own demons. But the energy of life resides in the demons. Sex, creativity, drive, passion, all of it lives in the shadow. When you kill your demon to be a good husband, you force your woman to kill her demon. But demons are immortal. If you lock them in the basement, they start banging on the pipes, and that banging is the call of infidelity.
The secret is to let them out for a walk, together. Create a lawless zone in your marriage, a space where you can be bad, where you can act out your dirtiest fantasies, where you can say nasty things to each other in the heat of passion, where you can be not husband and wife, but two animals who met in the forest. Legalize the shadow. Become her guide into her own hell. Show her that with you she can be anything, both a saint and a sinner, and then she will simply have no reason to look for anyone else, because no one else can give her this total freedom to be herself. You might ask, what if it's too late? What if she has already left? Then you will learn this lesson with the next one, but you will go through it not as a blind kitten, but as a master. You will no longer allow this sterility. You will know that in every woman a whore is sleeping, and the task of a man is not to kill that whore, but to be the only one who has the right to wake her up. Friends, this has been a long and difficult conversation. I don't expect you to agree with everything at once. This needs to be digested. This needs to be lived. But if even one thought from this video has stuck in your head like a splinter, then our work was not in vain. That splinter won't let you sleep. It will force you to act, and action is life. Subscribe to the channel. Click the bell icon, because next time we will go even deeper. We will dissect how to manipulate a manipulator, how to read a woman's lies in her pupils. This is knowledge they don't teach in school. This is knowledge that saves lives. See you on the dark side of the truth. Be dangerous. Be alive.